Hi everyone. This continues our discussion of an argumentative composition. We've already talked about a debatable thesis statement, and we've talked about a clear line of reasoning and using evidence to support that line of reasoning. And we also talked about in the first video about ethics and logic, ethos and logos. And part of what we want to do for our audience, for our readers, is to make sure that they understand that we have looked at the situation from all sides. And to that end, in our essay, we're going to engage the opposition. And it feels a little counterintuitive. We think, why would we even mention what the opposition thought if we're arguing something different? And again, it's just because we want our readers to understand that we know what the opposition would say, and we disagree with it, and they're wrong. Okay, we want to address the opposition before it comes up in our readers' minds. Okay, and you've probably already figured this out, but this argument is really a dialogue between yourself and the reader. Again, anticipating what it is they're going to say, or their questions or concerns, their objections, will help further your argument. Okay? There are 3 things you need to do to engage the opposition, and everyone's paper should contain these 3 things. Number 1, you have to make concessions. You acknowledge the counter argument. Okay? You recognize the points made by the other side. You may acknowledge the limitations of your argument and the truth in other positions. And it strengthens your argument if you can do this graciously. And some ways to do this is to say, while the opposition may state, all right, recognizing the points made by the other side, although it's true that something, all right, and I will send out, there are very particular phrases that we can use when we are using counter argument and rebuttal that help to kind of distinguish between a counter argument and a rebuttal. But we acknowledge the opposition. And again, it's going to help strengthen your own argument. The second thing that you need to do is you need to rebut what the counter argument was. You need to rebut the opposition. It's a very small, very tactful argument aimed at a weak spot in the opposing argument. And we use a rebuttal to answer the opposition's objections. We can point out the counter argument's limitations. We can tell the other side of the story. Or we can address logical fallacies in the counter argument. And a fallacy is an error in thinking. So once we acknowledge the opposition and we state their position, then we explain to our readers why they're incorrect. But we do it very logically and tactfully and graciously. Okay? And then the last thing that you want to do after you engage the opposition is you want to consolidate your claim. You want to regroup, restate what it is that you're asserting from your thesis statement, and you do this after you've mentioned the counter argument and rebuttal so that the weight of your whole argument rests on that claim. And so there's a couple of different ways for you to organize your essay, especially in regards to counter arguments and rebuttals. So outline number 1 is what I like to use when I'm writing argumentative compositions. All right? You make your claim, your debatable thesis statement in the introduction. First body paragraph, argument, support your 1 point in your line of reasoning. Second body paragraph, another point in your line of reasoning. Third body paragraph, counter argument and rebuttal. Fourth body paragraph, you're going to hit them hard with your strongest point, the biggest thing that supports your claim. And then you conclude. You consolidate your argument. The claim is reinforced. You have presented to your audience such a clear line of reasoning, and you have already shot down their counter argument with your rebuttal. Your audience will have no choice but to agree with you at the end. That's our goal. So introduce with your debatable thesis, paragraph number 1, line of reasoning, paragraph number 2, another point in your line of reasoning, paragraph 3, counter argument and rebuttal, paragraph 4, your biggest point, your strongest point in your argument, and then you conclude. That's the way that I like to do it. And your reader is left with the biggest punch right there at the end, right? That's what they're going to be left thinking about. Another way to do it is to do, you can do point, counter argument, and rebuttal. All right, so you can make a point, present the counter argument for that point, and then present the rebuttal. Then you can make another point for your line of reasoning that supports your thesis. Then write the counter arguments for that particular point and rebuttals. And then your strongest point at the end, counter arguments for that point and rebuttals. Again, this is absolutely acceptable. It works. For me, though, just it seems to be mentioning way too much what the opposition thinks. We don't want to give our reader any cause to agree with someone else. So, but if this works for your writing style and your purposes, that's fine too. So you want to use one of those two things. And again, just remember what our purpose is. Remember what the line of reasoning is. Remember that each paragraph should support your thesis statement. And also remember, just a closing thought here, you want to be sure that the topic sentences in each of your body paragraphs are directly related back to the thesis statement. So you're reminding your reader all the time what it is you're trying to get them to agree with. Avoid overly emotional appeals, avoid heated language or charged language, and avoid first and second person, because again, you don't want to talk to your reader by saying you. It's kind of talking at them, kind of preaching at them. And you don't want to make it too personal by saying I, or we, or our, or us. Instead, you want to keep that objective third person. If you have any questions as you finish up your argumentative composition, please be sure to let me know. I'm very happy to help, and I thank you for watching.